Hello, today we are doing mission 1, which is I can add and subtract fractions with a common denominator. That means at the bottom of our fraction, whatever number's in the bottom, is the same number today. So it's easy to add and subtract because we have the same size piece. For example, in this first question, we have 2 pieces colored in out of 5. So that would be represented as 2/5. Plus, we have 1 piece colored in out of 5, so that's 1/5. So it's easy to add those 2 pieces together because they're both out of 5 pieces, the same size piece. So 2 plus 1 more gives us 3 pieces that are colored in out of 5. So here's another example. We have 4 pieces out of 4, also known as 1 whole. Plus we have 1 piece out of 4, so that's 1 1/4. Plus we have 2 pieces out of 4, 2/4. So we have the 1 whole already, so we can write 1 whole. And then if we combine this piece with these 2 pieces, we now have 3 pieces out of 4. So our answer is 1 3/4 circles. These next two there aren't any pictures for, but we know they're the same size piece. They're both out of 5 pieces, so we can just add the top. 4 plus 2 is 6, so we have 6 pieces out of 5. Well, that makes more than 1 whole because 5 out of 5 would be 1 whole. So 5 goes into 6 one time, and we have 1 piece left over, 1 1/5. Last one on this page. If we're subtracting both in mixed number form, we can subtract the whole number first, and then subtract the fraction portion. So first, 8 minus 4 is 4. And then 5/7 minus 1/7, they're both out of 7 pieces, so 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 4/7. That would be our best answer. On to the next one. It says add or subtract the fractions. They have the same denominator, so we can just add how many of each size piece we have there. We have 5 and 7 more, should give us 12 out of 18 pieces. Now that's an okay answer, however, we learned how to simplify, and if we can, we should simplify. We can divide both of these, let's say by 2. They're both even numbers. 12 divided by 2 is 6, 18 divided by 2 is 9. So we have 6/9, however, we can keep simplifying because both of those numbers are also divisible by 3. We can divide by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, 9 divided by 3 is 3. So our answer is 2/3. Same thing with the next one, except we're subtracting. We both have pieces that are 18th of a size of a circle, so we can just subtract the numerator. 7 minus 5, well, that will give us only 2 left over, 2 pieces out of 18. We can again simplify. These are both even numbers, so we can divide by 2. So we'd end up with 1/9. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 1/9. Alright, again, if we have mixed numbers, add or subtract the whole number first. 1 plus 7, 7 plus 1 is 8. And then the fraction portion. So we have 1/5 and 2/5. Just adding the numerator, 1 plus 2 is 3. So we have 3/5. 8 3/5. Same thing with subtracting. Subtract the whole number if you can first. 8 minus 6 is 2. And then 3/4 minus 1/4. Just looking at the fraction piece, 3/4 minus 1/4, we can do that. 3 minus 1 is 2. And we have out of 4 pieces. We can simplify by dividing by 2. However, our whole number out front stays the same. We're just simplifying the fraction. So we have 2, and this would give us 1/2, 2 1/2. 2 2/4 is the same as 2 1/2. Now, if we wouldn't have been able to subtract here, these pieces, we could have converted one of our whole number 8s into like a 4/4 and combined it with the 3/4. We'll get to some of that later. Here's a word problem for us. It says Anton uses 7/9 gallons of water. So here's how much water it takes to water the roses. He uses 1/9 fewer gallons of water to water the herbs, or our spices that we have here. How much water does Anton use to water the roses and the herbs all together? All together, meaning adding them all up, both the roses and the herbs. So we know it takes 7/9 of a gallon to water the roses, and 1/9 fewer. Fewer meaning less than. So if it takes 7/9 gallons of water to water the roses, and 1/9 fewer, we can subtract that to figure out how much water it takes to water the herbs. So 7 minus 1 is 6. So it's 6/9. Right now I'm not going to simplify yet because we have a common denominator and we need to add both of those numbers together to figure out how much water we need total. So 7/9 plus 6/9, we can just add our numerator because the denominator is the same. If we have 7 pieces and 6 more, 6 plus 7 should give us 13. So we have 13 pieces. That's more than one whole. 9 goes into 13 one time. And how many pieces do we have left over? 13 take away 9 would give us 4. So we have 4/9. So it takes 1 4/9 gallons of water to water both plants. Alright, our last slide here says watch the integers. Be careful if you're adding or subtracting. So first we have a -3/5 plus 4/5. I like to always put the negative with the number on top because it still is a negative fraction. But if we make both of them negative, then 2 negatives would make a positive, and we don't want that. So just make one of the numbers a negative. I always do the top number because the bottom number tells us how many size pieces or what size piece we have. We have this divided into fifths. So if you have -3/5 plus 4/5, you're really just adding or subtracting from the top. So we still have fifths. A -3 plus 4, well, these are our integer rules. There are more positives than there were negatives. 4 minus 3 is really just 1. -3 plus 4, there's more positives. There's 1 extra positive. So we'd have 1/5. Next, we have -7/9 minus 1/9. So I like to again put the negative on the top. So we have a -7 and really a -1. Remember that sign goes with whatever comes after. They're both size 9th or a 9th in size. So if we have a -7 and a -1, all together, we're really adding up those two, all those negatives, 7 negatives, and 1 more negative gives us 8 total negatives. Alright, oops, it's hard to see here, I'm going to move that down. Next we have 7/15 plus a -13/15. They're both out of 15 pieces, so our common denominator is a 15, and we're just adding and subtracting. We have 7 positives and 13 negatives, so I know our answer is going to be a negative. There are more negatives. So how many more? We're just subtracting. 13 minus 7 should give us a -6/15. However, this fraction we can simplify. They are both divisible by 3. -6 divided by 3 is a -2. 15 divided by 3 is 5. -2/5 would be the best answer. Alright, on this next one we have a -9/14 minus 13/14. Again, our denominator is still a 14. We're just combining all of our negatives. We have a negative here and a negative here. We're really just adding them up. A -9 and our -13. So you're combining your 13 and the 9. That should give us 22. So we have -22/14. Well, that's more than one whole negative. We know 14 goes into 22 one time, so we have a 1, and how many pieces are left over if we subtract 14? Should be 8 pieces. We count up from 14 to 22, should give us 8. But we can simplify. You guys, this is an okay answer, -1 and 18/14. But we can divide both of our numerator and denominator by 2. So we'd really have -1 and 4/7 would be the most simplified answer. So again, all I did here was subtract my numerators to get -22, and then converted this to a mixed number, -1 and 8/14, and simplify. I would like you to try these last two on your own. So first, if we add our whole numbers, 1 plus 4 is 5, and then we have 6/8 plus 3/8, well, that gives us 9/8. So really, we have more than one whole right here. 8 goes into 9 one time, and we'd have 1 piece left over. So we have 5, and we have 1/8. We're really combining all that together. We really have 6 and 1/8, just adding them all up. Because we already had the 5 wholes, and we have one more whole here. That gives us 6 and the 1 extra piece, 1/8. Last question, same size piece, so just add the numerators. We have 5 plus 1 is 6, so we have 6/12. Some of you can just see that that's a half. 6 is half of 12, so that's fraction simplified as 1/2. Or you can divide by the same number. 6 goes into both of these, so we would have, just like I said, 1/12 divided by 6, which is 2. All right, you do have a homework.